Well, hello. Let's see here. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Slices of Success. September 24th is what we're on. Tonight, we're going to be unpacking this whole concept of how to listen our way to fulfillment. I've been asked by several people, why am I saying fulfillment rather than success or happiness? I want to tell you why. Simply because I don't think that success and happiness really comes to us until we're fulfilled. See, Annette and Mary, I think what happens is a lot of people are chasing happiness, they're chasing success, and every time they get close to it, it just moves a little bit away from them. Yet, if they would pause for a minute and really ask themselves, Kimberly, what really fulfills them? What really brings them a sense of fulfillment? I believe that if they would start looking for that, I believe that if we would start really searching and really lassoing down this whole concept of fulfillment, happiness and success would be its byproduct. Yet chasing happiness and success, I mean, the thing about happiness is this: it's all based on happenings, things that are happening. And for the most part, you and I can't control what's happening. We can't control our spouse's attitude when they show up at home. We can't control their physical well-being. We can't control how they look at life and how they respond to us, can we? We can't control the guy going down the freeway and him cutting us off. We can't do that. And so if I'm wanting happiness, I have to give control over to somebody else. Yet, Patty, Miss Manji, if I really focus on what fulfills me, then I think happiness and success becomes its byproduct. That's why I have dubbed this series Listen Our Way to Fulfillment, because I believe as we get fulfilled, success and happiness finds its way to us. And we looked at 3 weeks ago, we looked at the first component, the first attribute, the first layer of being able to really truly give a listen to somebody. And that is that we have to log out of all the other conversations that we're having before we can truly log into this one. Before we can truly log into this one. And I can't really listen if I'm not logged in to the conversation that you and I are having. I just can't. Now, some of us that are here tonight, you're much more talented than I am. You have this capacity to be able to do several things at the same time. You have this capacity to do that. I'm telling you, I don't. And way too often, Cindy, way too often, I get caught right in the mix that I'm trying to listen, yet I'm paying attention to something else, and they look at me and they know I'm not really listening. Now, I know that you, every one of you here, you're much more talented than I am. You're able to hold a conversation and get those things done, aren't you? I'm not. And I'm not really, really great at it. I got to tell you, I'm better at talking than I am at listening. And that's why this whole thing is such a struggle for me sometimes. So what we learned 2 weeks ago, I said 2 weeks ago, no, it would be 3 weeks ago today, huh? That we have to log out of everything else before we can log into this conversation. Last week, we looked at the second component, the second attribute. Hey, Nate, I'm glad you're here, man. Glad you're here all the way from Kennewick, Washington, in that area. Listen, we have to invest in the speaker as though they treasure for us, as though they have something that we desperately need. We have to invest in them as if they have a treasure for us. Now, tonight, we're going to take about 15 or 20 minutes, and I'd like to unpack what I call the third component or the third principle of really being able to listen our way to fulfillment. And that is simply this: we must serve the speaker with 100% of our presence. So let me give you what I'm saying about this. Okay. Having been a speaker now, oh gosh, I'm probably going on 42 years of being up front in a classroom or on a stage or somewhere speaking. And this is what I've learned. This is what I've learned. There's this dance that happens between the listeners and the speaker. And the speaker is better most of the time if they know how to present their material. They are better when they recognize that the audience, the listeners, are actually paying attention. Now, if you're in a Pentecostal church and you're speaking, they'll say things like this: come on now, bring it on, give it to me. And that lets you know they're with you, all right? If you're in a church, sometimes if you're in a Baptist church, you might get an amen or a Yet, this is what it's like. It's like a dance. Let me give you two stories about dancing. Now, I know some of you are opposed to dancing. So just for a second, Joe, just back up and listen to me as I say this, all right? Some of you are opposed to dancing, but I want you to see this. I took salsa lessons one time. Now, here's the thing with salsa. Salsa, there's these moves, Molly, that are the same. They're the same. It's not really so much about the music, Jennifer, in salsa dancing, as it is in you being in rhythm with the person that you're dancing with. And there's two things about salsa dancing: is you have to be able to move your hips in such a way and move your feet in such a way as well. Now, I took lessons. Let me tell you, there was about 8 people in the class, and what we were doing, Debbie, is switching off partners. and I'm so bad at this. Here's what happened. Every partner I was with sent me down to the next one because my brain could not partner up with my hips and my feet and them at the same time. Could not do it. It just would not do it. And so they kept passing me along. And they were being kind about it. They really were. Everybody there just wanted to be able to salsa. And Matt could not get it. He was overthinking it. And so I couldn't get it down. Now, second story. Several years ago, when I'd go work in Southern California, I would stay at an Embassy Suites on Dyer, just off of Dyer on Hotel Terrace Road, Embassy Suites. And they had this restaurant where you could go there, and there was a guy that would sing, and he would play the piano and sometimes the guitar, and he would sing. Well, there was this older gentleman that would come there and dance. This guy was amazing in watching him dance. Later, I learned that he was Luann Renton's grandfather, the gold medalist. He was remarkable. Yes, I did, Joe. I did. I'm so glad you're here. It was remarkable to watch him dance. He had this thing where he knew the music and he knew how to step, and he was in unison with his partner. He could dance and his arms would fillet. He would spin his partner around. They would do these steps and they were elegant. I sat there eating my cheeseburger, watching them do this, wishing I could do that. Speaking and listening is just like that dance. It's just like that dance. And later, I met somebody who told me that there's really only 4 steps to dancing. There's really only 4 steps. There's a move forward, a move backwards, a move to the left, and a move to the right. And if I just did that, I would look like I knew what I was doing. In speaking and listening, there's the same thing. And for the listener to gain a lot from the speaker, what they must do is serve the speaker with 100% of their presence. 100%. And if you and I will learn how to serve the speaker with 100% of our presence, the speaker will be better. The speaker will be better. So let me give you the 4 steps of listening and serving and just serving the speaker. Okay? 4 steps. S is situate yourself so that you can look at the speaker and then acknowledge while you're situating yourself. What I want you to do now is step number 2. Step number 1 is situate yourself so that you can see them. Be close enough to the front that you can see them. We used to call it be in the spit zone. Be close enough where you two can interact. If no words are spoken, you can interact with your eyes and you can communicate to them that you're with them. They will be better if you situate yourself to listen. Situate yourself. Then talk when necessary. Talk and attach yourself to them when necessary. Sometimes it's just a oh yeah, that's right. Do that. You will let them know that you're 100% there. Now, elevate them, elevate the speaker. Listen, elevate the speaker by taking notes. If the speaker shares their phone number with you and says to you, you can text me while I'm speaking, send them a text and let them know that you're there. Send them a text. Okay? Do that. Okay? Because you want to situate yourself that they can see you. Target them by looking at them. Text them once in a while if they share their phone number. And just when you're there, target them. Look at them. Take some notes when you're there. And then you can elevate them. You can elevate the speaker by acknowledging them with your body language, with your presence, with your words when it's necessary, when it's proper. Say something to them. Say, that's right. I agree. And if they say, anybody here like popsicles, raise your hand. If you do, raise your hand. That communicates to them, to the speaker, that you are there. Now, if you're a speaker here, raise your hand. Give me a one of those thumbs up that's on your computer. If you're a speaker, if you regularly speak, I want to give you something that is very important to me. Just give me a thumbs up if you're a speaker here. If you are a speaker, include your listeners by asking them to respond to you once in a while. Do something that includes them. Now, let me show you a couple ways you can do that. Look at them. See their eyes. Look at them once in a while. Do that. Look at them. And then also, while you're looking at them, listen, as you move, speakers, I'm speaking to you. As you move through the room, stop and look at somebody and say the sentence or the paragraph that you are bringing across. Say it to them directly. You say, well, I'll be ignoring everybody else. That's not true. That's not true. While you're looking at her, while you're looking at him, and if they've got name badges on, call their name and talk to them. Guess what happens? Everybody else in the room looks at both of you, and they ear hustle is what they do. They connect to what you're saying. They connect to what you're saying. That's why it's important, Mr. or Miss Speaker. Look at them. Speak to them. Pause long enough to look at them. All right? Pause long enough. And then slow your cadence down, speakers. Slow your cadence down and let them have enough time to process it in their minds and in their hearts what you're saying. There was a time in my speaking life that I could put out so many words and I would talk and my face would turn red and I'd almost run out of breath. And people would say they liked that. Yet here was the truth. Very few of them knew what I said after it was over. And when I started slowing down, inserting what later I called the pregnant pause, like what I just did, people began to remember and repeat what I said more often. Remember, as a speaker, that's what you want. You want them to remember and repeat what you just said. So, step number one in serving the speaker by being 100% present. Situate yourself so that you can see them. Move close to the front. Sit to the edge. Sit near the aisle. Be close enough to where you can see them. Get close enough so you can see them. Situate yourself. Okay? Target them by taking notes, by responding. Target their questions when they ask you, who's here that loves pizza? You raise your hand. You're there. You're showing them that you're present. You elevate them by verbally responding when it's appropriate. Verbally responding when it's appropriate. Step number four is picture yourself in the story and nod your head as they're speaking. I'm suggesting to you that as you do this, and it doesn't matter if it's a speaker up front, it's a speaker in a classroom, it's a speaker you're talking with in the hallway, you're talking to a child. These same 4 steps work, and it works with everybody. If you're in a romantic relationship with somebody and you want to listen your way to fulfillment, what you've got to do is sit close enough to them and look at them. You've got to target what they're saying by repeating it to yourself and maybe even to them. Elevate them as you're listening. You elevate them by asking them appropriate questions when it's necessary and using your words, nodding your head, looking at them. And then just be present with them and picture yourself in what they're saying. Picture yourself in what they're saying. Listen. It's much easier to speak than it is to listen, isn't it? Because every one of us have all these distractions. You're in a room. I remember one time speaking in an auditorium, and my back was to this big plate glass window that overlooked a valley. And there were birds flying. There were trees, pine trees, waving in clouds, blue sky with great big white puffy clouds. And I'm telling you, what a challenge, because people weren't looking at me. They were looking at the scenery behind me. And so what I had to do is really be present as a speaker. And the few that were in that room that were really listening to me helped me be more present as a speaker. Now, the greatest failure that I have, Sonia, the greatest failure that I have is when I'm in a conversation with people is sometimes I struggle with listening. There's a couple of reasons. I'm not going to make any excuses. There's a couple of reasons why. Okay. One is I'm an alphabet kid. I'm ADD, ADHD, ABCF, GCQ, all those letters that you can come up with that have acronyms that mean something. And really what it is sometimes I'm just flat distracted. I'm just distracted. And so it's hard to listen. Some of you that are here have suffered with my lack of listening. And then my ego gets in the way. And I can't really admit that I didn't hear what you said. And I have what I've coined. I've never read it anywhere. I've created the word, Nate, and I have dyslexic hearing is what happens to me. I hear parts of what people say sometimes, and then I try to act like I know. And it's just better if I'm honest and say, I didn't get it. I didn't hear what you said. Could you repeat that? Now, I can't use that all the time, because when I use that all the time, they don't want to talk to me anymore. All of a sudden, they leave. Okay? That's in one-on-one conversations. one-on-one conversations. I struggle with this. And if I'm talking with people at a conference or at a place where I'm speaking, yeah, I'm doing some training and there's all kinds of movement going on, because I have this condition, my eyes wander off. And when my eyes wander off, all of a sudden I've checked out for a second. Now I know none of you have this problem, do you? Do you? If you have this problem, which could you just type in there yes? That would let me know that I'm speaking to some like-minded people, some like strugglers. Does any of you have the problem of being able to really focus and listen? That's why I'm saying move close to the front. What I do when I'm in a conference, when I'm in a room, when I've done a workshop, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Jacqueline, for being honest. Thank you. Some of the rest of you, you don't even know what that is, do you? You don't have any idea. You have no idea. Joe, you was gone, huh? Joe, sorry, you missed some of that because you weren't listening. Because you weren't listening. You got something else going on. See, I struggle with this. So when I'm doing a workshop and I'm doing a training and all of a sudden now it's conversation time. Thank you, Kimberly. It's conversation time. What I have to do is move my back to most of the movement so that I can have this conversation with you. And I do my best to look at you. I meet some people for coffee once in a while. And this is a real struggle for me. And the best time for me is when I'm situated in my chair to where my back's to all the movement and I can look at the people that I'm sitting with to have coffee. When I go have a meal with somebody that's really important with me, I now sit with my back to the group, to the audience, to the room. Used to be, I thought, oh, I've got to see what's going on. Well, if I'm going out to eat with you, if you and I are going to have Italian food at a restaurant that has those red tablecloths, you and I go, it's better for me to sit with my back to everything that's going on. That way, I can look at you. I can say, hey. And when I go and we sit in a booth, I do my best now to put myself on the side of the booth where most of the activity happens so that I can look at you. That's just what I do. When I go and I eat with a lot of people, now what I do is I try to put myself right in the center of the table with my back to everybody else. That way I can look at everybody. I can hold conversations to the left, to the right, and across the table. Because I struggle. I do. See, when we're there together, I want us to be there together. Oh, here's another thing too. Here's another thing before I let everybody go, because I know that everybody's got something to do tonight. Here's another thing. I just rarely bring my cell phone in to have pizza with you. I rarely do that. I've been places with people where the entire time, we're sitting there having a conversation, and it's really a conversation with them and all their Facebook friends, all their tweet friends, all their LinkedIn friends, and everything else that's going on. It is better for me to not even have the phone. Okay? So what have we learned? What have we learned here tonight? We've learned a couple of things about how to serve the speaker with 100% of your presence. And you do that because there's this dance between the speaker and the listener. Carrie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you're up there speaking and you're doing everything you can to get everybody in the right lane, there's something that happens when as the speaker, you're connected with the listeners. And listeners, when I'm a listener, I sit towards the front. I sit as close to the front and to the edge as I possibly can, because I want to do this 4-step dance with you as the speaker and me as the listener. The first thing is I situate myself close enough so I can see you, so I can see your eyes, and I can see your smile. I can see that those things that are going on. Number 2, I take notes. I come in there with a piece of paper and I'm going to take notes because I want to target what you're saying so that I can capture whatever it is for me. And I do my best to elevate you by nodding my head, Sometimes I go, that's right. That's right. And when you ask a question, I'm going to respond to that. If you ask me to raise my hands, I'm going to do that. And so, fourth, what I do is I picture myself in the story that you're talking about. I picture myself there. That helps me target that. That's what I do. It helps me be there. It's like a 4-step dance. I'm so grateful to the person, dear friend, that taught me the 4-step. Because the 4-step has helped me in so many ways, so many other things. So listen, before we go tonight, I just want to brag on my son a little bit. My son Matthew has had a rough go of life. Several years ago, now about 13 or 14 years ago or so, he made some really poor choices. And those poor choices took him captive. And he's been in and out of drugs for that long. One point, he was living on the streets, actually in a tent by a stream in Eugene, Oregon. Didn't hear from him for a little over a year. And today, I'm so incredibly proud of my son. Today, he celebrates his 1 year of clean and sober. Tomorrow night, he's going to get a little chip. He's going to get a little coin that celebrates that. I can't be with him yet. I'm so incredibly proud of him. When he was born in 1983, he came out and he had the umbilical cord wrapped around his throat 3 times. And maybe for the first and only time in his whole life, he was quiet. He was still. And his arms were just flopping out when he came out of his mom. The doctor looked at me and I looked at the doctor, and Matthew was blue jean blue. It was scary. It was so scary. And the doctor, with expertise, reached his 2 fingers underneath that umbilical cord that was wrapped around his throat 3 times and just shook it a little bit and then lassoed it off. And almost immediately, he started crying. And I'm so proud of him. It's been an uphill battle for this last year, yet he's here. He's made it. I'm ecstatic for him. And I want you to be ecstatic too. And listen, if you've got somebody that's trapped, I want to give you just a little piece of advice. If you've got somebody that's trapped on some sort of a drug that has more control over them than they have over it, when they get a breath of fresh air, they get a little bit of hope. Be somebody that can be hope for them rather than shutting them down because they made all kinds of mistakes. Okay? You don't know what tomorrow brings, but you do know right now that they're free. And my Matthew is free right now. And I'm excited about that. So listen, my name's Matt. I'm your friend. And Joe and Nate, you have no idea what you did for me tonight by both of you showing up. You just have no idea. Okay? I love and admire you guys. And thank you for being here. You do something, you humble me by your presence here tonight. Okay? You really do. So listen, as I said, I'm Matt. I'm your friend. You can reach me at 916-708-8103. You can call me. You can text me there anytime you want. Okay? Or you can email me at leap@mattupton.net. And listen, if there's anything I can ever do for you, if there's some way that I can serve you through some training, through some speaking, through some coaching, whatever I can do for you, all you got to do is ask. So listen, go get a taco someplace, have a good night, and I'll catch up to you later. All right? Thanks.